There's a moment every single day when you step into the world, whether it's your office, your client's shop, a meeting, even just a chance encounter at the coffee shop. And before you've had the chance to open your mouth to share your story, your skills, or your ambition, the world has already started reading your story. I call it the silent handshake. Before you've said a word, before you've put your best argument forward, you've already told people how to treat you by the look in your eyes, by the way you stand, by the care you've given to your clothes, your grooming, your presence. I want you to stop and think for a moment. If your appearance was your handshake with the world, what are you shaking on? Are you sealing a deal for respect, opportunity, and value? Or are you closing the door before it even opens? Because every day, in 100 subtle ways, your appearance, your discipline, your habits, your care, speaks so much louder and faster than your resume, your business card, or your big ideas ever will. It is uncomfortable, yes, because it means you can't hide behind intention. You teach people how to value you before you ever speak. And the truth is, if you find yourself overlooked, underestimated, or passed over, if you wonder why the doors don't open, why the income won't rise, why your work feels invisible, you may need to look at what you're silently saying before you ever get to speak. It is not about chasing trends, not about being vain or shallow or playing dress up. It is about self-respect and the discipline of teaching the world that you mean business, that you respect yourself and your standards, and that you are a person worth engaging, worth listening to, worth rewarding. You may feel that twinge of discomfort, maybe even a little embarrassment or regret, looking back at the days you showed up rushed, unprepared, hoping the world would see through the surface to the quality beneath. But I'm here to tell you, you can change what you communicate without saying a word. Resolve starts with the mirror, not with the marketplace. Today, I want to talk to you about a principle, a law that links how you show up on the outside and inside with what you ultimately receive in life, in relationships, and yes, in income. Because the world does not pay for time alone, it pays for perceived value. And value, my friend, begins at first glance. Let's talk about the law that links appearance and income. There's a law at work every single day, whether you recognize it or not, and it governs so much more than just the way you look or the clothes you wear. I call it the law of presentation and reward, and here's how it works. The world rewards what it perceives as valuable, not just what is valuable. We are all told to work on our character, to improve our skills, to develop our knowledge, and these are absolutely essential. But understand this, if you fail to present your value, to package it, to honor it on the outside with the same care you claim to honor it on the inside, the world will pay you as if you have little to offer. I have seen it again and again. Two men, equal in ability, one who carries himself with pride and polish, the other who arrives looking as if he barely survived the morning. The world moves toward the man who is ready, who is sharp, who is polished, who signals, "You can trust me with your money, your reputation, your future." There is a sharp contrast in life between casualness and care, between neglect and discipline. The man who is casual with his appearance is casual with his habits, casual with his calendar, casual with his results. It's not about the price tag on your suit or the brand on your shoes. It's about the respect you show for yourself and for others. The discipline to iron your shirt, to polish your shoes, to tidy your hair, to stand straight and speak with confidence. These are the signals that tell the world, this man, this woman is not drifting. This person is ready. If you care enough to master the small things, people will start believing you care about the big things too. And it's not only about other people. There's a private inner harvest that comes from knowing you are showing up at your best. When you take the time to upgrade your presence, your energy rises, your confidence grows, and you begin to expect more from yourself. Let me give you a practical example. Think about the first time you met someone who radiated care and discipline. Their handshake was firm, their shoes were polished, their hair was neat, their eyes were alert, their clothes clean and pressed. You may not have known a thing about their background or skill set, but you believed, without evidence, that they were worth listening to. Why? Because they had invested in their own standard. Now contrast that with the person who arrives unshaven, shirt wrinkled, distracted, eyes to the floor, shoes scuffed, posture slouched. No matter how talented, how intelligent, or how deep their insight, the world discounts them before they have a chance to prove themselves. That's why I say your appearance is your daily application for new opportunity, for higher income, for new respect. Most people sabotage themselves at the front door, not because they lack talent, but because they send the world the wrong message before they ever get to speak. And if you are waiting for the world to slow down, to look past your surface and judge you by your soul, I'm afraid you'll be waiting a very long time. The world rewards what it sees. But here's the good news. The law works in your favor the moment you start using it. Raise your standard, and you'll be amazed at how quickly the world raises its rewards. Now, most people sabotage themselves with a handful of big myths, ideas they learned from childhood, from movies, from wishful thinking, that keep them stuck in the rut of casualness and neglect. Let's expose these myths for what they are, so you can finally be free to change your appearance and your income forever. Let's move there now. Let's pull back the curtain on some of the greatest myths ever told about appearance, success, and value. Myths that have kept countless good people stuck at average, frustrated with their lack of progress, all while convincing themselves that they're being noble or virtuous for ignoring what the world so obviously notices. The first and most stubborn myth is the one you've likely heard your entire life. Only skills matter. Looks are shallow. This story gets repeated like a badge of honor by people who want to believe the world is always just, always careful, always slow enough to see the gold beneath the surface. But let's be honest. The world moves fast. First impressions are made in seconds, and they are hard to undo. In an ideal world, yes, your work would always speak for itself. But in the real world, discipline is visible. Standards are visible. The care you bring to your grooming, your clothing, your posture, your energy, and your presence is not shallow. It is the language of seriousness, respect, and personal pride. When you show up at your best, you're saying, I respect myself enough to make this effort, and I respect you enough to bring my highest standard into your world. That is not vanity. That is integrity made visible. Now, the second myth is equally dangerous. Appearance is shallow. What matters is the inside. But here's the truth. If you believe that taking care of your appearance is shallow, you will miss out on half the influence, half the respect, and half the opportunity you're capable of. Your inner world and your outer world are always linked. If you are careless on the outside, chances are you're careless in some hidden places on the inside too. Discipline is a holistic principle. Self-respect has a way of leaking out for all the world to see, whether you want it to or not. It's not about chasing trends or impressing strangers. It's about broadcasting to yourself and to the world. I'm not here to coast. I'm here to build. I'm here to matter. If you walk out the door every morning saying, it doesn't matter how I look, ask yourself, would you say the same about your attitude, your punctuality, your preparation, your relationships? When you bring discipline to one area, you invite discipline into all areas. And the third myth, the myth that ruins more late bloomers and restarters than any other, it's too late for me. This myth is a thief that steals your resolve before you ever begin. Maybe you look back and see a trail of neglected mornings, rushed commutes, haphazard dress, or years of settling for good enough. Maybe you've convinced yourself that you missed your chance, that standards only matter for the young, for the corporate, for the beautiful people. But that's not true. It's never too late to upgrade your standard. The market is always looking for a person who raises the bar, no matter their age, background, or story. Respect is not reserved for the young or the lucky. It's reserved for the disciplined. Every morning is a blank check. You can cash it for whatever level of standard you choose to set, starting today. It's time to move out of guilt, out of denial, out of the world of excuses and old stories. Give yourself permission, not just to change, but to win. Feel the urgency that comes from knowing you may have lost some time, but you haven't lost your opportunity. The market, your network, your clients, your family, everyone you interact with is ready to treat you as a new person the moment you prove to yourself that you are one. This is your turning point. The truth is, you can transform the trajectory of your results, your relationships, and your income by cleaning up your act, not as a temporary tactic, but as a new way of living. And the sooner you step up, the sooner the world will start holding open the doors that used to stay closed. Let me share with you how this shift changed not only my life, but my income and my self-respect. It wasn't instant, it wasn't easy, and it certainly wasn't about chasing the latest fashion. It was about self-mastery, daily discipline, and the realization that credibility rises when your standard rises. Here's the story, my own story, of what happens when you go from overlooked to overpaid, not by demanding respect, but by earning it every day in the mirror and in the world. Let's go there now. I want to tell you a story from my own life, a turning point that shaped not only my career and income, but my identity and the respect I would eventually command, not just from the world, but from myself. There was a time early on when I was hungry for progress, showing up to every opportunity, reading the right books, working on my skills, but still finding myself invisible in the room. I'd watch as the promotions went to others, as the important conversations happened without me, as clients chose someone else. And I felt that sting. That quiet, bitter question, why am I being overlooked? I tried to tell myself it was luck, or politics, or favoritism, but the truth stared back at me every morning in the mirror. I was letting my standards slip. I was showing up with the attitude of good enough, thinking that my work alone should speak for me. I'd show up rushed, sometimes a little rumpled, sometimes a little careless with my words, sometimes a little too casual in posture or tone. And the world in turn paid me in the currency of neglect, of small raises, of missed chances. My appearance was telling everyone that I was not yet ready for more. One day, after yet another opportunity slipped through my fingers, an opportunity I knew I was qualified for, I sat down and faced the hard truth. If I wanted to be taken seriously, I needed to take myself seriously. I needed to respect the game, respect the marketplace, respect myself. That meant raising my standards, not just for an interview or an important meeting, but every single day. I cleaned out my closet. I invested in one good suit and kept it pressed. I got my shoes shined, my hair trimmed, my nails clean, my posture tall. I made a new rule: never casual, always ready. Every morning, I checked myself head to toe and asked, would I hire this man? Would I trust this man? Would I hand this man my business, my money, my recommendation? If the answer was ever no, I started again. I noticed almost immediately that I felt different. My energy lifted, my focus sharpened. I walked into rooms with the feeling that I belonged there, because I had already decided to belong to a higher standard. And then, almost as if by magic, but really by law, the world responded. The same people who used to overlook me started calling me for advice, for introductions, for projects. Clients started mentioning my professionalism, my attention to detail, and presence, words I had never heard before. The promotion came, the new income came. But more than anything, the self-respect came. I realized that credibility doesn't rise because you ask for it. It rises because you raise it within yourself. When you signal seriousness, discipline, and care, the world assumes you can handle bigger problems, bigger rewards, bigger opportunities. The shame I used to feel of being invisible, overlooked, and underappreciated turned into a quiet pride, a daily satisfaction that I was no longer waiting to be chosen. I was choosing myself every single morning before anyone else got the chance. And every day that I kept that promise, my circle of influence grew. I began to see the law of appearance and income at work, not as a trick or a shortcut, but as a reflection of who I was becoming. Respect, opportunity, and financial reward followed my new standard as naturally as the harvest follows the planting. If you're listening to this and feeling that same shame, that same sense of missed chances, let me offer you hope. No one is locked into being overlooked. The day you decide to level up your appearance, your standards, your presence, is the day you start attracting the rewards and relationships that match your new identity. And it all begins with a set of fundamentals, a handful of non-negotiables that you install into your daily life. Not because someone else told you to, but because you have chosen to build a new reputation with yourself and with the world. Let's get into the practicals. Here's what it means, in day-to-day action, to truly clean up your appearance, and why each one is a lever that lifts your life and income to new heights. Let's make it real, because high standards are built on small, unbreakable habits that you practice when nobody's watching. These are the fundamentals, the 5 non-negotiables of appearance that I have watched transform not only my life, but the lives of so many men and women who are hungry for more respect, more confidence, more income, and a reputation that speaks for itself before a single word is said. Let's walk through each one, and as you listen, I want you to ask yourself honestly, where am I keeping the standard, and where have I let it slip? 5.1. Cleanliness and grooming. This is the baseline, the foundation on which everything else is built. Cleanliness is not negotiable. You may not have the finest suit, but you can be the cleanest, the freshest, the most meticulous. Shower daily, keep your hair trimmed and neat, pay attention to your breath, your nails, your scent. No one should ever have to step back when you step forward. Your hygiene sends a message of discipline or neglect. There is no in-between. I remember a mentor telling me, you can't out-earn a careless look. I took it to heart. You do not have to be a model, but you do have to be a man or woman of order. The world will notice. 5.2. Clothing, fit, care, and context. You don't have to wear designer labels or the latest trends, but you do have to wear clothes that fit, that are pressed, that are cared for. The message isn't, I'm rich, it's, I'm intentional. Even if you have just a few shirts or one good jacket, make sure they fit your frame, that they're clean, wrinkle-free, and appropriate to your context. Invest in a pair of shoes you keep polished. Look at the people you aspire to stand beside and take note of how they present themselves. You may not be able to match their price tag, but you can match their effort. If you want to be paid for value, dress as if you believe you bring value. 5.3. Posture and energy. Your body language often speaks before your voice does. Stand tall, shoulders back, eyes forward. Walk with purpose. Sit with intention, not slumped or scattered. I've seen people shrink themselves out of opportunity by folding their energy inwards. A straight back and a strong handshake are universal currencies of confidence. When you carry yourself with energy, you send the message, I'm awake, I'm present, I'm ready for what's next. The world responds to that charge. 5.4, details and accessories. It's the details that separate the average from the excellent. Check your watch. Is it working? Is it clean? What about your bag, your pen, your phone case, your shoes? Are your hands clean? Are your teeth cared for? These seem like small things, but they accumulate into a larger impression that cannot be faked. If you want to level up your income, start by leveling up your attention to the details. Excellence in the little things builds trust for the big things. 5.5, consistency. No off days. The greatest test of discipline is not how you perform when you know you'll be seen, but how you show up when nobody's looking. Winners understand there are no off days. The standard is the standard. No matter how tired you are, no matter how casual the occasion, it becomes a ritual, a way of moving through the world that is automatic. The barbershop, the closet, the laundry, the way you leave your workspace at night, all are reflections of your inner order. If you're looking for a shortcut, you won't find it here. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day, especially when you don't feel like it. This is how you build a reputation that precedes you. Cleanliness and grooming, clothing that fits and is cared for, posture and energy that signal self-respect, details that demonstrate excellence, and consistency that says, you're always ready. Practice these 5, and you begin to broadcast a signal of value to the world. And remember, these are just the outer disciplines. True winners know it's the inner disciplines that make the outer ones sustainable and authentic. You can't fake what you don't live. That's why the next level of appearance and income is built on the invisible habits, the internal codes that shine through every handshake, every conversation, every first impression. Let's talk about those now. Now, let's turn inward and look at what truly separates a man or woman of mere surface polish from one who radiates lasting presence and authentic value. The world can see through a costume. It can sense the difference between someone who is merely trying to look the part and someone who has forged themselves on the inside into a person of real discipline, real depth, real worth. I call these the internal disciplines, the 5 invisible codes that show through in every gesture, every moment, every interaction, no matter what you're wearing or how much you earn. These habits, though unseen, become the very fuel that makes every outward improvement sustainable and every first impression ring true. 6.1, attention to detail. Success is a game won at the margins, by those who notice the extra 2%, the little things most people skip. Winners train themselves to notice. A button missing, a scuffed shoe, a document that needs one more proofread, a thank you that needs to be sent, a conversation that deserves to be followed up. The discipline of finishing touches extends to your appearance. Do you pause to check your collar, straighten your tie, fix your hair, wipe a spot from your glasses? But it also goes deeper. It's about noticing what others miss, in yourself and in your work. Excellence isn't a single act. It's a way of seeing the world and yourself with a critical but loving eye. 6.2, punctuality and preparation. Nothing says, I respect you, I respect myself, and I'm ready for more, quite like being early and prepared. Punctuality isn't just about timekeeping, it's about credibility. Winners are always early. They arrive ready, having thought through what's needed, having anticipated the needs of others, and having mentally rehearsed their presence and message. Lateness signals disrespect, chaos, and lack of discipline. Preparation means more than reviewing notes. It means setting out your clothes the night before, shining your shoes, packing your bag, planning your meals, and starting each day with intention. Early is credibility, late is disrespect. If you want the world to give you more, you must first prove you can master the clock. 6.3, positive speech and courtesy. The way you speak, the words you choose, the tone you use, and the way you treat people, especially those who can do nothing for you, these reveal the true depth of your discipline and character. Manners matter. Courtesy to the receptionist, the waiter, the security guard, and the cleaning crew is noticed by everyone who matters. Winners use positive, uplifting language. They never lower their standard, even in private. Compliments, gratitude, and encouragement cost nothing, but they pay out in trust, reputation, and goodwill. Your appearance isn't just what you wear, it's the experience people have in your presence. 6.4, associations, who you're seen with. Your crowd is your future. Who you choose to spend time with sets the ceiling for your standards, your energy, your habits, and ultimately, your opportunities. Are you surrounded by people who challenge you to grow or people who encourage you to coast? Winners associate with other winners, not out of exclusivity, but out of aspiration. They want to learn, to elevate, to level up. If your peer group cares about discipline, self-respect, and high standards, you will almost always rise to meet them. The world is watching who you stand with, who you take advice from, and who you bring into the room. You are signaling to the world what kind of person you are becoming, and the marketplace will pay you accordingly. 6.5. Ongoing self-improvement. Finally, nothing sustains a new standard like the discipline of constant growth. Winners read, study, and invest in themselves. They are never finished. They learn from books, from mentors, from feedback, from every new challenge. Every day is a classroom. Every setback is a lesson. Every conversation is a chance to upgrade your thinking. You want to look like you belong at the next level? Then act like a student of the next level. Growth is the root of all visible improvement. A man who is committed to learning will never stay at the level of his past. The more you improve yourself, the more the world trusts you with its rewards. Together, these 5 internal disciplines build a foundation that no surface polish alone can provide. When you combine attention to detail, punctuality and preparation, positive speech and courtesy, strong associations, and a relentless drive to improve, you make yourself magnetic to opportunity. You don't just look the part, you become the part. Others sense it. They lean in, they listen, they believe. And your income begins to mirror your inner wealth. Let's get very practical now. What daily appearance habits actually move your income in the real world? You're about to learn the daily code, the 5 actions that, if practiced, will raise your value and the way the world rewards you no matter your starting point. Let's move from inner discipline to outer habit, one day at a time. Now that you understand the foundation, both outward and inward, it's time to move into action. Because knowledge without discipline leads to regret. And regret, more often than not, is born from the things we didn't consistently do. So what should you do? What, specifically, can you begin practicing every single day that will raise your presence, elevate your income, and help you build a reputation that speaks long before your resume ever arrives? I want to give you 5 appearance habits, simple, powerful, and consistent behaviors that high-value people practice. Not because someone is watching, but because they understand that success is attracted to standards. These 5 disciplines are not about impressing others. They are about signaling to the world and to yourself that you have stepped into a new identity and you plan to stay there. 7.1. Daily mirror audit. Before you walk out your front door, or even before you step into the work mindset, stand in front of the mirror and do an honest self-scan. This is not vanity. This is leadership. Ask yourself, is this how a high-value person walks into the day? Would I trust this man? Would I hire this woman? Would I follow this energy? Check the grooming, the posture, the energy in your eyes. Your eyes are often the most overlooked part of your appearance, but they are the most revealing. Are you alert? Are you clear? Are you proud of the person looking back at you? If not, take a moment to adjust, not just the shirt or the hair, but your posture, your pace, your presence. The mirror audit is your daily report card, and the person grading you is the one who will live with the results. 7.2. Dress for the next level. The world sees what you project, not what you intend. That's why I teach. Dress for the level you aspire to, not just the level you're in. If you want to be treated as valuable, dress like you're valuable. It doesn't mean suits every day or expensive clothes. It means care, intentionality, polish. Upgrade one item if you need to. Replace the tattered jacket, shine the shoes, fit the pants, iron the shirt. Even one level up signals that you're on the move. You don't need a closet full of new clothes. You need a closet full of discipline. Dress not to impress. Dress to express who you've decided to become. Let every item you wear say, I take myself seriously. And watch how quickly the world starts to do the same. 7.3. Groom before you go. This is a non-negotiable. Right before you step out, whether to the office, to the gym, or to the grocery store, take one final grooming pass. It's about discipline and pride, not about the crowd you'll meet. Wash your face. Brush your teeth again if necessary. Touch up the hair. Spray once, not 5 times. Carry mints. Trim the nails. Wipe your shoes. You are always closer to opportunity than you think. And opportunity rarely announces itself in advance. How many people miss life-changing chances because they were unprepared to meet the moment? I say, always be ready. Grooming is not just about how you smell or look. It's about whether you've chosen readiness over laziness. The marketplace pays for readiness. 7.4. Stand and move with intention. People who walk with purpose are noticed. Those who slouch, drag their feet, or appear half awake, these are people the world assumes are not ready for more. Start noticing how you move. Do you slump into rooms or stride into them? Do you sit like someone who has standards or someone who's given up? Every time you enter a room, assume the role of someone valuable. Hold your shoulders back. Look people in the eye. Walk a little faster. Sit with intention. Shake hands firmly. Breathe deeply. Let your movements confirm the message your clothes and grooming already announced. I'm here and I'm ready. A powerful appearance isn't just what you wear, it's how you occupy space. 7.5, end of day reset and plan. Winners finish the day on purpose. That means you don't fall into bed with chaos behind you. Before the day ends, reset. Clean your space, lay out tomorrow's clothes, charge your devices, plan your meals, journal if you must. Ask, what did I tolerate today that I won't tolerate tomorrow? Because appearance is not about impressing others. It's about walking into tomorrow with clarity and confidence. When you end the day clean and prepared, you sleep better. When you wake up to order instead of confusion, you begin the day already ahead. The evening is where tomorrow's standard is quietly set. Don't miss it. These 5 habits, when practiced daily, will reshape your energy, your influence, and your income. You'll begin to walk into situations with quiet authority, not because you shouted, but because you showed up like someone who belongs at the next level. Let others stay casual. Let others wait for luck. You, on the other hand, will build the kind of presence that speaks before you do, that earns trust without begging, and that opens doors not because of charm, but because of consistency. Now let's talk about what happens when these small disciplines compound, when the invisible choices you make in the mirror begin to multiply and draw unseen rewards. This is where the shift happens, from trying to catch opportunity to having opportunity recognize and chase you. Let's go there. The secret to wealth, influence, and long-term elevation isn't found in the grand gestures. It's in the accumulation of the quiet disciplines. That's why I call this the compound effect of appearance. Just like pennies becoming fortunes through the power of interest, your daily habits around how you show up begin to stack, to magnify, to echo. And the man or woman you become as a result of these invisible decisions, day after day, year after year, emerges with a kind of presence that can't be faked, a kind of authority that doesn't have to be introduced. You walk into a room and people adjust. They sit up straighter. They lean in. Not because you demanded it, but because you've earned it. And it all began with a decision. I will raise my standard. Let me tell you what happens when you take care of the small things. People begin to assume you take care of the big things. That's influence. They see the clean shoes and assume you keep your word. They see the pressed shirt and assume your work is polished too. They watch how you shake hands, how you enter a room, how you sit down. And before you've even shown your portfolio or spoken your name, the room has formed an opinion. The good news is, when your standards are high and consistent, that opinion works in your favor. You no longer have to prove yourself every time from scratch. Your appearance becomes your shorthand. That's the guy who's always sharp. That's the woman who runs a tight ship. That reputation begins to travel ahead of you, opening doors before you arrive. The first win is invisible. You feel better. When you dress well, stand tall, and carry yourself with pride, you respect yourself more. You make better decisions. You decline what doesn't serve your future. The second win is interpersonal. People treat you with more trust, more respect, and more seriousness. That means promotions, partnerships, invitations, and introductions. And the third win, the financial one. You start being trusted with more responsibility, more opportunity, and yes, more money. Because in the real world, people don't pay you for time, they pay you for value, and how you show up is part of how they calculate that value. Here's what I've learned. Nobody is born with this edge. It's earned. You're not stuck where you are. If you start today with small, consistent changes, you will not be the same person a year from now. People will notice before you even open your mouth. There's something different about him. She looks ready. That's the power of discipline compounding, and that's what casual people never understand. They think effort is only for big moments, job interviews, weddings, performances. But you and I, we know better. We know that every morning is a performance. Every meeting is an audition. Every hallway is a stage. And the people who win are the ones who are ready when it matters most, because they've been ready all along. Now, I don't want you to just admire this principle. I want you to practice it, because the only thing standing between you and a reputation that commands opportunity is 30 days of discipline. 30 days to install the habits that make your presence undeniable. Are you willing? If so, I've got a challenge for you. A code to live by, a practice to build, and a reward waiting at the other end that you can't put a price on. Let's build it together, starting right now. Now it's your turn to move from understanding to transformation. You've heard the philosophy. You've felt the weight of the truth. You've seen how the smallest habits stack into the greatest rewards. So here's the challenge I extend to you, not just as a mentor, but as someone who's lived both sides of this equation. Commit to a 30-day appearance and income upgrade. For the next 30 days, I want you to become the kind of person whose standard is no longer casual. You're not going to wait for a job interview or a raise to start showing up like you matter. You're going to begin now. Not because the world asked you to, but because you're done asking for permission. This is a private revolution that happens between you and the mirror. And the rules are simple. One standard per day, one decision every morning to raise the bar. Here's how it works. Every day, before 8 a.m., you perform a mirror audit. Look yourself in the eye and ask, would I hire me today? Would I buy from me today? Would I trust me with my time, money, or attention today? If the answer isn't a confident yes, you fix it right then and there. Shirt wrinkled? Iron it. Shoes dusty? Wipe them. Posture lazy? Straighten it. Energy off? Refresh it. If your outer doesn't match your inner commitment, raise one to meet the other. And don't just stop at appearance. Reflect. Journal. Ask what standard you upheld today. Ask where you let yourself off the hook. Keep a log, not for guilt, but for growth. You're building self-respect in writing, day by day. Get feedback from those who notice, the ones who live with you, work with you, shake your hand. Ask them, have you noticed a change? If you're doing it right, they'll say, there's something different about you. That difference is not a haircut or a new shirt. It's a new identity being revealed, and the market can sense it too. You'll see it in the way people greet you, the way conversations last longer, the way new opportunities begin to whisper your name. Because you've taught the world something powerful. This is a person who shows up ready. And as you go through this 30-day process, don't rush. Don't look for perfection. Look for momentum. You're not dressing for vanity. You're dressing for battle. Every button, every shine, every preparation is a signal to your own mind. I am not the same man I was. I am not the same woman I used to be. I take myself seriously now. And that energy is contagious. Others will treat you according to how you treat yourself. You want to earn more? Show that you've become more. And not once, but daily. The world pays what you prove you're worth through consistent signals of discipline, intention, and presence. So, track your changes. What did you upgrade today? What did you learn? What did others respond to? Keep a log. Let it be your evidence. And after 30 days, look back. Look at the version of you who started and compare it to the version that finishes. Not only will you see a sharper, more focused person in the mirror, you'll feel the shift in your confidence, your posture, your conversations, and yes, your opportunities. Income doesn't just rise by effort. It rises by signal. And now, your signal is clear. So here's your challenge. Begin today. Pick one thing you're no longer willing to let slide. One standard to raise. Tomorrow, another. By the end of 30 days, you will not recognize the way people respond to you, and more importantly, the way you respond to yourself. We're almost at the close, but before we finish, I want to leave you with one final charge. One truth I've learned from decades of watching this law unfold. If you forget everything else, remember this. The world pays you what you prove you're worth. Let's close with that. Let me leave you with this final, uncompromising truth, a principle that has guided my life, my business, and every room I've ever walked into. The world doesn't pay you for what you hope for, what you think you deserve, or what you quietly believe about yourself deep down. The world pays you for what you prove you're worth. And how do you prove it? Not just by what you say, not just by what you know, but by how you show up day after day when no one's clapping and no one's watching. That's the proving ground. That's where your income is negotiated long before a paycheck ever arrives. Every wrinkle you smooth out, every shoe you shine, every posture you correct, every breath you take before you speak. It's all part of the signal, and the marketplace reads that signal before it reads your resume. You are a walking billboard for your value. People read you in a moment. They decide if they trust you, if they want to follow you, if they should invest in you, long before you have the chance to justify it. And most of them never tell you they made that decision. They just make it quietly and move on. But if you raise your standard, if you show up not casual, not half-dressed or half-present, but fully aligned, fully intentional, fully polished, something changes. People begin to lean in. They start listening to your words differently. They start introducing you to others. They call you back. They offer you things you never thought you could have. Why? Because you've become the kind of person who belongs in the room. And that's not arrogance. That's responsibility. You have chosen to become a person worth noticing, and that choice is rewarded. Look, I've met too many talented people with sloppy habits, brilliant minds buried beneath wrinkled shirts, late arrivals, poor grooming, and weak posture. And guess what? They wonder why the promotion didn't come, why the client didn't sign, why the world seems to keep passing them by. I'll tell you why. They didn't signal value. They didn't prove they were worth the next level. They waited to be chosen instead of choosing themselves. Don't let that be you. From this day forward, I want you to make a quiet decision. Not one you shout, not one you post, but one you prove in the mirror, in the morning, in your stride, in your care, in your readiness. Say it with your actions. I raised my standard. Let that be your comment today. Let that be your identity. Not someday, today. Because the world isn't waiting to reward you for what you could be. It's rewarding who you decide to become. So stand up, straighten up, clean up, step up, and stay up. Let casual be your enemy and consistency be your friend. Your income will rise to meet your new standard because that's the law of discipline, the law of self-respect, the law of value. And when the world sees you walking in, it will say, there's someone who's worth listening to. That's the moment everything changes. Not because the world got easier, but because you got better. So go now and prove it.